Hello, let's get started with lesson 8, which is going to cover the basics of sentences. In this lesson, we're going to understand the different concepts related to sentence formation, on how the words are used to make grammatically correct sentences. Now, a sentence is made of group of words. Those group of words alone could make sense or they could not make sense. So we're going to understand the concept of phrases and clauses. Phrase is a group of words that do not make sense alone. Whenever you make a sentence, you have a subject and a predicate. For example, they rested at sunset. When did they rest? At sunset. So it's answering my question when. So these group of words do the work of an adverb. But do they make sense alone at sunset? No. It does not have a subject or a predicate. So therefore, it is called a phrase. Now let's look at the other sentence. They rested when everyone left. When did they rest? When everyone left. So these group of words do the work of an adverb and they do have a subject or a predicate. So it acts like a clause. Now what are clause? They're a group of words containing a subject and predicate and they form a part of complex or compound sentence. When you look at the sentence, when it rained, they stayed back. It is made of two different parts. When it rained, they stayed back. So when it rained has a subject and a predicate, but it does not make any sense alone because of the connector when. They stayed back. This also has a subject and predicate, but you do not know who is they. So both the parts of the sentence are called clauses. The much sought after treasure was found in the dacoit's hiding place. Where was the treasure found? In the dacoit's hiding place. It is answering my question where, so it acts as a adverb. But does it have a subject and a predicate? No. That is why it is called an adverb phrase. The treasure was found where the dacoits hid the stolen things. Where was the treasure found? Where the dacoits hid the stolen things. So we have a subject, dacoits, and we also have predicate. So these group of words which answer my question where is an adverb, and because it has a subject and predicate, it's an adverb clause. Now, what are the different kinds of clauses that you may use to form a sentence? I saw a woman who was crying loudly at the station. I can break this into two parts. I saw a woman, and if I look at this, these group of words, it has a subject, it has predicate, and it expresses a complete meaning and can alone stand as a complete sentence. So it is called an independent clause. Who was crying loudly at the station? These group of words have a subject and a predicate. So that's why it's a clause. But it does not make any sense alone. It can only make a meaningful sentence when it comes with a main clause. Therefore, this is called dependent clause or a subordinate clause. Now, what's an adjective which describes a noun? So what's an adjective phrase? A group of words which describe a noun. The cloth beautifully stitched by hand is worth the cost. Which cloth? Beautifully stitched by hand. So these group of words do the work of an adjective, but they do not have a subject or a predicate, so it's an adjective phrase. Let's look at the next sentence. The cloth which was beautifully stitched by hand is worth the cost. Which cloth? Which was beautifully stitched by hand. So here, these group of words definitely describe the cloth, so it's an adjective, but they do have a subject and a predicate, so it's called a clause. So it is called an adjective clause. Noun phrase. As the name suggests, a group of words that do the work of a noun. Let's look at a few examples. Health is wealth is a good maxim. So what is good? So what is a good maxim? Health is wealth. So here, these group of words have a subject and a predicate both, so it acts like a noun clause. We enjoy playing tennis. What do we enjoy? Playing tennis. But does the group of words playing tennis, do they make any sense alone? Does it have a subject or a predicate? No. That is why it is called a noun or a phrase. Similarly, in the next sentence, reading books is my favorite pastime. Reading books is a noun phrase. Let's take one more example. I expect to get a reward for my achievement. What do I expect? To get a reward for my achievement. It does not have a subject or a predicate, so it is called a noun phrase. I expect that I shall get a reward for my achievement. So these group of words act as a noun, and it does have a subject or a predicate. Therefore, it is called a noun clause. Now, what is a simple sentence? It is the one which has only one subject and one predicate. He ran very fast. My subject is he and rest is predicate. The plants release oxygen. My subject is plants and rest is your predicate. Compound sentence. As the name suggests, it is this kind of sentence is created by combining two different sentences. So, this is the one which is made of two or more principal or main clauses using coordinating or subordinating conjunctions. I called him, but he did not reply. This can be broken into two parts. I called him and he did not reply. So I'm using a coordinating conjunction to form a compound sentence. Read carefully and take your notes for the exam. She must give in or she will not survive. I would die before I lied. I can break this into parts. I would die, I lied. But I am using a subordinating conjunction to form a compound sentence. Complex sentence. A complex sentence consists of one main clause and one or more subordinate clauses, which means you cannot break it into parts. Even if you do, the main clause would be meaningful, but the subordinate clause will not make any sense. Write down the news as you have heard. So if I break it into parts, write down the news makes a complete sense. It gives a clear meaning. As you have heard, I don't know who is you. It does not make any sense to me. It's a subordinate clause. He who is a pauper has nothing to lose. He came earlier than I expected. He came earlier. So, in fact, when you break it into parts, you will not be able to make full sense. So, complex sentences usually cannot be broken into parts as I mean, the parts of the sentence taken separately may not be able to give you a clear meaning. Okay, so in the last lesson, we did study about active and passive voice. So this is one exercise. One should keep one's promises. It has one predicate, one subject and predicate. So it's a simple sentence. How will I change it into passive? My passive is your one's promises, your promises. So passive would be promise. Promises should be kept. Here, the word promises is the object, therefore it will be taken in the front to form a passive voice, a passive sentence. Someone has taken my pen. This sentence is an active voice. So I take my object in the front, my pen has been taken. They made her the queen. This is an active voice. My object is queen, but if I write queen in the beginning, I may not be able to form a sentence properly. So she was made the queen. Now, in this case, she was made the queen, but do you know who made her? No, you don't know the subject. So, this kind of sentence is also a passive sentence. Circumstances will oblige me to leave early. What will oblige me? Circumstances. This is an active sentence. I shall be obliged to leave early. But who will oblige you? That you don't know. So my subject is not known in this case. So therefore, it's a passive sentence. When will you return the notes? This is an active voice. When will the notes be returned? By whom? That is not important. That's why it's in passive voice. Okay, so what is gerund? She sings very well. So we know that sings is an action, it's a verb. But when I put ing to my verb, it becomes a noun. It becomes a gerund. So when I say singing, so a lot of people think that the word singing is only in terms of tenses, but that is something else. She was singing. So was singing together is taken as a verb. But if I ask myself, singing is his favorite pastime, and I ask myself the question, what? What is his favorite pastime? Singing. So that's what I said, that it all depends on the usage in the sentence. You have to ask yourself few questions, and the answer to that would help you know whether which part of speech it is. So here, when I say singing, it is acting as a noun. It is a gerund. Few more examples. I like watching animated movies. What do you like watching? So animated movies. Now, if I say I like watching, then probably I can take I like watching, like watching as a verb. But if I take it in the other way, what do you like watching animated movies? So in that case, watching animated movies altogether is a noun which will be taken as a gerund. He's fond of reading cartoons. What is he fond of? Reading cartoons. So this whole expression is taken as a gerund. For example, playing football is my hobby. So playing football, the whole thing is a gerund because it is doing the work of a noun. As both the gerund and the infinitive have the force of a noun and a verb, they have the same uses. What is infinitives? Infinitives is basically used with some actions which are regular or repetitive. For example, teach me to dance. Teach me dancing. To see is to believe. Seeing is believing. There is not, special difference, but sometimes we u- we use infinitives only with our, simple present tense actions which are regular, like I like to wear. Okay, so I like to wear, sleeveless shirts in summer. Then you cannot say I like wearing sleeveless shirts in summer, because whenever I use wearing, it is specific to the moment, which we will study later in case of tenses. But I like to wear sleeveless shirts in summers. I like to wear means it's a regular action, so we're using an infinitive. We do not use ing in this case. So that's all about gerunds and the types of sentences. I hope it was useful. In the further lessons, we will go through tenses and how to transform one form of sentence into another, also to identify different kinds of errors. So stay tuned and happy learning.